Before we dive into the topic of today's discussion, let me just take a moment to introduce you to the CLIMentines initiative, which is the reason why we are here today discussing this topic. So CLIMentines is an initiative aimed at empowering young people to take meaningful action in the fight against climate change. So this project focuses on engaging youth workers and also providing them with the tools and knowledge and also strategies to engage with young people effectively in climate advocacy and decision-making process. So by working closely with youth across Europe, CLIMentines tries to create a wave of change, ensuring that young voices are not just heard, but also valued in shaping climate policies. So this was just a short introduction to the CLIMentines project. And I would also like to take the opportunity to introduce you to our two guest speakers for today's webinar. So first of all, Federico Rucco, who is a project manager in Actionaid Italy. Federico has more than 10 years of experience in people and community engagement, campaigning, and also project management. He has coordinated activist networks and worked with social movements and developed training materials on campaigns and grassroots mobilization, as well as youth initiative and global mobilizations. So Federico, it's a great pleasure to have you here. Um, and next, I would like to introduce you to Rainer Maria Baratti, who is a researcher in Actionaid Italy and collaborates with the risk management program of Actionaid International Italy. And he's also involved in the analysis of national and international public policies with focus on participation and accountability. So Rainer, welcome as well. Super excited to have you here with us. And so, Federico, I would like to start with you, if that's okay, and ask you the first question in order to kick off this webinar. So, I would like you to give me your view to why is youth participation in climate action important? And do young people in Italy and in Europe in general show interest in engaging with these issues?
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. So my name is Federico. Thanks for having me. Just because I just noticed that we pretty much look alike, so I'm Federico. He is Rainer. So sorry for sharing the same screen. So regarding your question, so the thing is, in our view, is that as we are seeing that climate change is increased, is negative effect over our world, and is increased the level of uncertainty. One thing that is certain is that the people paying the price for the climate crisis is going to be the future generation, so the children and the young people living right now and in the future. So what we can say about the involvement of the young people and the participation regarding the climate justice and the climate crisis is that we can consider them not just as victims, of course, of the climate crisis, but also as a crucial and valuable contributor to the solutions ahead. So it is very important that we start considering the young people as agents of change. So the people who are also, and it's crucial, their involvement is crucial in shaping the future policies, also for creating a fair and sustainable world to come. So also, the unprecedented mobilization over the past few years, if you think about in the last couple of years, also show the power that the involvement of young people in the youth, in the climate policies, also show their power to help the decision maker accountable. So these are all the elements that we need to take into account when we start talking and thinking about this topic. So to summarize why youth participation in climate action is especially important in our vision is that I would say they are the ones who are going to face the long-term consequences of the climate crisis, and so also make their involvement is crucial. in creating sustainable and fair policies for the future and solutions. There are also people bringing fresh perspectives, creativity, a lot of energy into the developing of climate action and climate policies. So it's very important also to rely on the sense of urgency that is also spreading amongst the young people. And finally, also, as I said, the activism of young people, especially in climate action, has proven to be a powerful force in pushing decision maker and government's institution to take more ambitious climate actions. So it's very important to have the young people on board to help creating the best and the more sustainable and fair climate policies for the future to come. As for the part of the question and how young people do engage in climate action in Europe and also in Italy, I will say that over the last few years we have seen a significant interest in climate issues by the youth, by the young people. Let's just think about the huge impact that has all over the world, the mobilization around the Fridays for Future movement, but also many others, local or smaller groups interested in climate action. I'm thinking about Extinction Rebellion, or in Italy, Ultima Generazione, for example. So, as said, it's very important. I think the interests of young people and the engagement of young people in shaping climate policies is becoming more and more important. Even now that it seems like the interest around the climate justice topics is leaving spaces to other issues and other topics. But we still need to take into account that it's very important to take the attention over this topic. Of course, despite the interest and engagement of the young people, we can also see some challenges, some barriers to their participation, which is also important to take into account, especially when focusing on projects such as CLIMentines. For example, as I said, young people too often face barriers to being included into the climate discourse, especially at political and decision-making level. So what we need is, I would say that these barriers are made especially of limited access to decision-making processes, more in general, and we will deepen maybe the topic later. The lack of institutional support, so everything that happened at the informal level, let's say. So we will need more institutionalized processes where youth have a specific and important role, and also skepticism for political leaders. So meanwhile, we have noticed the capacity of young people to somehow drive decision-making processes. At the same time, we're also experiencing some skepticism over the engagement of the young people. So I would say, I will finish saying that encouraging youth participation in democratic processes, such as climate assemblies or participatory budgeting or other forms of democratic, deliberative and participatory approaches that we will see later, can help us bridge the gap and ensure that the young people can play a central role in building a more sustainable future. And I would say that CLIMentines, through his deliverables, through the guide, and through all these tools, is exactly going in direction of sustaining this gap filler.
Perfect. Thank you, Federico, so much for sharing your perspective with us, and of course for highlighting the barriers that young people face. It is indeed very important to refer and highlight the obstacles. If we need to tackle the issue, we need to enhance youth participation. So, Rainer, of course, if you want to contribute to this question, feel free, but I have prepared another question for you. So I would like to ask you, how can young people in Italy and in Europe, of course, actively participate in deliberative climate processes, and what are some successful examples of youth-led climate initiatives that you know of?
Okay, thank you for the question. It's very interesting and very challenging, at least. In order to answer, it's important to keep in mind a big difference between top-down processes and bottom-up processes. In one end, when we speak about top-down, it's something like organized by public administration, the institutionalization process, and we can ask that people, young people in particular, can join a process that promote youth leadership or reserve a meaningful quota of their representation. What is make the difference in the institutional process is that how much power the institution gives back to the people, because we have a right to the power. When we speak about representative democracy, we are deciding with the vote, but we are transferring the power to the public administration, and with this process we are giving back of the power. On the other side, when we speak about top-down processes, the youth leadership could be made through movements that can stress the public administration in order to organize the deliberative process or to take care about the output of the process that yet is existing, because it's important to ensure this giving back of the power. On the other hand, there is the bottom-up experience. There is a lot in the world, I think I can say. And when we speak, this is the case, then we speak in the self-organizing processes on an issue that truly felt by a community or a territory or young people at least. In this case, it's very important that this public institution take care of the processes in a herd of the people in order to implement this recommendation that don't have an institutionally way to challenge. Then, as we write in the scoping study, we speak about, for example, of the Bologna Climate Assembly, and I think is one of the best cases of deliberative processes. Only to say, in this case, a local group of Extinction Rebellion made a campaign and stressed the public administration in order to promote this experience. Then this led the participation of 100 participants selected by lot, respecting democratic representation. In particular, 18 was resident in the city, 10 was the city users with the public administration annual ticket, and other 10 are university students. This is important because in this way they ensure the participation of the 22% relevant quota of youth participants under 29 years old. And this is very important because in Italy we are a population that is oldest and middle age very, very high. The results was 6 recommendations split in 24 proposals and more than 120 in action. Now the main issue is to monitor the output of the public administration is implementing this recommendation, and this is a common issue in all participatory and deliberative processes, because public administration can promote this experience, but if don't implement a recommendation, is something like a style exercise or something useless, I can say, and very demanding to the people because they use their free time, sometimes without a pay, and so on.
Perfect. Thank you, Rainer, for your perspective as well. And Federico, you mentioned earlier the CLIMentines guide for youth workers, right? So I would like to take the opportunity now and also inform our participants that as part of the CLIMentines project, we created a resource, we developed a resource, the CLIMentines Guide for Youth Workers. And this guide is designed to support youth workers in their efforts to involve young people in climate action through participatory and inclusive practices. So it provides practical insights, tools, and strategies for engaging young participants in climate policy discussions encouraging them to become leaders in their communities and foster a strong sense of responsibility for the planet's future. So we're very excited to share this resource with you, and I hope that it will inspire new ideas and approaches in your work with young people. My colleague will share the link to the guide, but unfortunately, due to some technical reasons, the link might not be functioning now, but we are working on it, and it will work within the next few hours. So, Federico, I would like you to tell us how can youth workers effectively use the Youth Workers Guide to Climate Action in order to integrate climate action into non-formal learning settings.
Yes. So, as said before, as climate change is setting unprecedented challenge for modern democracy, more in general, we can also consider it as an occasion for rethinking the decision-making process as a whole. In general, participate in designing policies, especially in this case, climate policies. It's not just a right. But also a response to the need to overcome the limits of representative democracies, which is usually limited to the electoral occasions, leave behind all the people, like the young people, especially the youth or the children in this case, that are not participating, for example, in the electoral racing. So if we just limit the democratic participation to that, we leave aside a lot of people. So the idea is that climate change also invites us to rethink the way that the decision-making power is distributed within societies, and this is the one of the objectives that creating this guide has. So the idea of behind the guide was to empower the promotion of climate action and aim at contributing the redistribution and sharing of power. So besides this more theoretical, let's say, approach of the guide that was driving us, me and Rainer, in writing the content of the guide. The guide will also thought as a practical instrument for the young people to participate. So if we think how the guide can be used by youth workers to be integrated into non-formal learning, for example, into the guide you will find we proposed some kind of working method based on 5 operational steps. So the idea will be to give the youth worker not just a theoretical framework, the one Rainer was talking about, and also the idea of how participating and engagement in shaping policies means what means for the concept of democracy itself, but also a specific guide, a specific step-by-step practical tools for youth workers. So the guide is divided into 5 steps, like setting up the scenes, so how to analyze the power, the situation, and the environment the people is living in, the designing of activities and planning, implementation of methods through different tools, outcome processing, and following up. But also we develop some specific organizational sheets. So some specific sheets as an axis for the guide, where the youth worker could find a lot of interesting actual tools that we also experimented during our training in Bologna 1 month ago, that in our vision could help the young people to integrate climate action into non-formal learning of different kinds. So for example, just to give an example, during the training in Bologna, we experimented with a model of a simulation for a climate assembly. So what we provided, and this is also something that we develop as a guide, let's say step-by-step guide on how to set and organize a local climate assembly. So by starting from a real case example, like the one from Bologna that Rainer talked about before, we try to summarize and make it easier for young people to access the logic and the steps that create that guide climate assemblies, and also we tried to insert as much as possible insights and advices and hints for how to govern a public assembly, how to get as much as possible for the people participating. So we think that the guide in this sense will be not just a tool for expanding knowledge about our understanding and vision about democracy, but also a practical instrument and tool for young people to help them in their daily work with the youth, with the children, and start engaging young people also in non-formal learning activities.
Thank you, Federico. Rainer, could you share with us if you have any experience on the methodologies or the tools that are proposed in the guide?
Okay. First of all, I have to say that Italy is a very fragile country, sorry, and we are eaten by earthquake. We have high hydrological risk, and we was eaten by floods in the recent years. And this is important because we work with community eaten by disasters, and in our experience, we try to promote civic monitoring, especially in order to check the situation of reconstruction processes after the earthquakes, and ask improvements on critical issues that affect the population, in order to ask a better life for people, because sometimes they remain alone and hide by reflectors, and media also forgot our situation in our country. And so on, we experimented the policy lab methods, in particular with Sicuri per Davvero campaigning. We promote 11 events where the people work on different issues, and the output of the process was a guidelines that we present to public administration, and now we are still working with campaigning action in order to ask to the institution to take care of this proposal, to hear the people, and also the people was eaten by these disasters. And this is very important because after the disasters, the communities was sometimes split by people who has eaten by the flood, for example, and people who not. And sometimes it is important to reconstruct also the community, the people in relationship, I can say. Another experience we had was in the monitoring and evaluation of Milan and the Bologna Climate Assembly. That's our two experience in Italy, and we have also other three in Firenze, Trento, and Parma. In this way, we can say that the Climate Assembly can increase the knowledge on climate action, put climate change in the daily life. That is very important because it make it very concrete and less abstract to the people, for common people, I can say, not for technical that study every day this issue. Then people can find common ground of solution nearest to their interests and needs, in order to boost the achievements of climate goals and accelerate the fighting on climate change. Also, into Horizon project, financing by European Commission, we are challenging the issue to make this process more inclusive. In particular, we have to piloting two deliberative processes. In one, it's called IDEM project. We are trying to test and develop the AI, artificial intelligence instrument that have to convert complex text in easy to read in order to make more inclusive this process for people with intellectual disabilities that sometimes could be excluded by public processes in general, but also processes promoted by people and self-organized. And another project that's called Eye for Deliberation. We are experimenting a digital platform with audiovisual elements that could be based on also artificial intelligence and gamification experience. In this case, we can work on the issue of digital divide and try to make more inclusive the national processes. And then we try to make a consultation on a national plan of adaptation at climate change. I think it's all the challenge that everyone have to address in order to make more meaningful this process.
Rainer, I would like to focus on the concept of climate assemblies, which is very fascinating, and you mentioned it, as it gives people a direct role in shaping climate policies. For youth workers who might be joining us here today and are interested in implementing climate assemblies, could you please share some key insights and practical tips maybe for them how to get started on climate assemblies maybe?
Okay. Also, we say it in the guide. We propose a theoretical framework, a guide at least, and it's something like to give a direction for young people and people in general who read these resources. And this is important to keep in mind because the only the big tips I can say is to adapt in the situation, contextualize the methods and the instruments in your case, in your practical case, and also to be flexible and to hear your participants, because your participants are the best people that can promote your processes and help you in the activities. In the monitoring activity, when we speak about climate assembly, we see that many times the guiding question is too broad, specifically in climate change, because we have to keep in mind that when we speak about climate change, we have a mitigation problem, and I mean to reducing emission in general, or to change the supply of the energy. And then we have also the adaptation challenging, that is in order to address the climate risk. And also we have to speak about issue like climate justice and so on. I can talk for too many hours how many challenges we have in climate change. And then it's important to have a very specific question that people can address in order to have a meaningful participation. And also another problem sometimes, and it's very linked with this, is that formal teaching sometimes could be very difficult and very heavy. Also for all these people sometimes that are not in university, that don't have a lot of exercise in studying and ask and hear the people that speak to you. And as Federico said, it's important to experiment non-formal education, interactive session, in order also to stimulate emotive responses that you can really understand the topic and feel on your body. And this is very important for my side. Something that I can say is also to give the moments also for the people to rest, but because resting is important to make a seed in your brain and grow up an idea, and something that could be very important for make changement in the process, and then have to have an output very meaningful also for the, well, I hope public administration. I come back every time in this topic, but because in order to have a change, it's important that the output you have is addressed by someone that have now the power and have to make the difference, because well, we have to change what doing now.
Thank you, Rainer. Thank you for your perspective. So our webinar is it's over now, and I would like to thank you all for your participation today, and a special thanks to our speakers, Federico and Rainer and Federico, for this insightful and engaging discussion. We really appreciate your contribution and being here with us today. Also, we look forward to seeing you all on our next week's webinar with the topic participatory and deliberative democracy in climate action. So until then, stay inspired and have a great day. Thank you again for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.